Think of the face you saw on studio posters. Now imagine that same actress standing backstage, trying to steady her breath after a threat, an accident, or a burst of hostile attention from a crowd. Fame lifted them, but danger followed close behind, turning everyday moments into something much heavier. Clara Bow under attack. In 1931, the It Girl found herself on trial in the court of gossip. Clara Bow was still a huge star. Then a cheap Los Angeles tabloid called The Coast Reporter decided to turn her into a target. The paper printed wild stories about her private life. They claimed she was out of control. They dragged in sex, alcohol, and drugs. None of this was backed by evidence. It did not matter. The headlines were loud. The public was curious. Behind the scenes, things were even worse. The publisher did not just print the stories. He tried to cash in on them. He offered to stop if Bow paid him a huge sum, reported as $25,000. That amount could ruin anyone, even a movie star in the middle of the Great Depression. Bow was already under stress from another betrayal. Her former secretary, Daisy DeVoe, had been caught taking money. When Bow pushed back, Daisy did not go quietly. Private letters and personal details slipped into the hands of that same tabloid world. A real friendship turned into a weapon pointed at her career. Federal agents finally stepped in. The blackmail attempt led to an arrest. The publisher was later sentenced to a long prison term. On paper, Bow had won. In her real life, the damage was harder to repair. For months, every walk outside felt risky. Reporters waited at her door. Strangers shouted questions in the street. Studio bosses worried more about headlines than her health. She had to sit in court and hear lies about herself read out line by line while the press took notes. Friends later said that this period broke her spirit. She could not sleep. She jumped at the sound of the phone. She was sure the next call meant a new story, a new trial, or a new demand for money. She was in her mid-20s and already talking about leaving Hollywood for good. By the end of 1931, Clara Bow stepped back from films. The star who once ruled the Roaring Twenties now spent her time outside the spotlight, trying to feel safe again. Jean Harlow's home turned hostile. The trouble began in September 1932. Jean Harlow was one of MGM's brightest names. Her marriage to Paul Byrne looked steady from the outside. Inside their home, tension had been building for weeks. Their relationship had become strained, and friends noticed the shift. On the morning of September 5th, Byrne was found in the house with a fatal gunshot wound. A note sat nearby. The studio rushed in fast. Executives tried to contain the situation before the press arrived. They worried about scandal, and they worried about losing control of the story. Harlow stood in the middle of a storm she never asked for. Police interviews followed. Reporters camped outside the gates. Neighbors stood on the sidewalk to watch the investigation unfold. Harlow had to stay inside for days because the front of the property had become a crowd scene. The case drew national attention. Papers across the United States ran front-page stories on her name. There were whispers about Byrne's past. There were questions about his former partner. Theories grew with every new article. Some writers pushed the idea that the note was staged. Others claimed a third person had stepped into the house that night. None of it was proven. The constant speculation did not stop. Harlow had to listen to strangers argue about her private life on radio programs heard in every major city. Studio security followed her whenever she left for work. MGM assigned drivers and kept her on closed sets. She stopped answering her phone at night. Friends said she felt watched, even inside her own home. Every new headline brought a wave of letters. Some were supportive, others were not. Threats appeared in her mail. People blamed her for things she did not do. She had to work under heavy pressure, surrounded by detectives, studio advisors, and reporters who waited for a single misstep. Carole Lombard ignored warnings. The war was on, and Carole Lombard wanted to help win it. In January 1942, she joined a fast bond tour across the Midwest. The goal was simple: sell as many war bonds as possible and boost morale while the country tried to process Pearl Harbor. Crowds packed theaters and halls to see her. Lombard joked on stage, pushed sales, and turned every stop into a loud, patriotic stunt. She moved quickly from city to city, often with little sleep. At one point, the group even drove overnight when schedules got tight. The mood was upbeat in public. In private, the pace worried some people around her. After a stop in Indianapolis, the plan was to return to California by train. That route was seen as safer during wartime. Airline travel was still limited and had extra concerns because of possible threats and the strain on pilots. Lombard did not want to wait. She pressed to fly home so she could get back to work and to her husband, Clark Gable. According to later accounts from the tour, she pushed the group to skip the train and go straight to the airport. She made it clear she was not interested in delays or caution. On January 15th, Lombard, her mother, and several others boarded TWA Flight 3 out of Las Vegas. The plane took off in the evening. Not long after, it struck Potosi Mountain, southwest of the city. Everyone on board died. The official report blamed navigation errors and a failure to adjust the flight path around high terrain. There was no proof of sabotage or an attack. Investigators pointed to poor route planning and the decision to push on in the dark. The crash hit Hollywood hard. Gable was called to help with the recovery effort in Nevada. The Bond tour that had raised over $2 million now had a tragic end. Gene Tierney's deadly encounter. The war years brought a different kind of danger for Gene Tierney. In early 1943, she was pregnant and still working, still expected to appear in public and support the troops. One stop on her schedule was the Hollywood Canteen, a famous club where stars met service members and signed autographs. The room was packed. Tierney stood in a long receiving line, shaking hands and smiling for hours. There was no way to know who was healthy and who was not. A few days later, she fell ill with what doctors soon confirmed as rubella, also known as German measles. It was a mild virus for most adults. For a pregnant woman, it carried real risk. Tierney knew the stakes. By that point, medical reports were clear that rubella in early pregnancy could harm the baby. She spent the rest of those months caught between studio pressure and private panic. Work went on. So did her fear. She had to keep showing up on sets, standing under hot lights, while wondering what might be happening that she could not see. In October 1943, her daughter Daria was born with severe disabilities linked to the infection. The child was almost completely deaf, had serious developmental delays, and needed lifelong care. Tierney and her husband made the painful decision to place Daria in a special institution so she could receive constant support. The actress went back to film sets with that choice and that loss sitting in the background of every workday. The most chilling detail came later. At a party after the war, a woman approached her and cheerfully recalled meeting her at the Hollywood Canteen. The fan bragged that she had broken a rubella quarantine so she could leave her sickbed, sneak out, and stand in that autograph line. Tierney wrote that she listened in shock as the woman spoke, then realized what it meant. Ingrid Bergman became a public target. The shift started in 1949. Ingrid Bergman left Hollywood for Italy to work with director Roberto Rossellini. The plan was simple. She wanted new creative ground after years of polished studio roles. The work came first, and the personal connection followed. When she became pregnant with Rossellini's child, the news reached the United States before she did. The reaction was immediate. Headlines blasted her across the country. Letters flooded newspapers and radio stations. Critics framed her private choices as a public offense. In early 1950, the uproar moved beyond gossip. A United States senator stood on the Senate floor and condemned her by name. He claimed she had misled the public, and he called her a harmful influence. His speech was carried in print across major cities. Overnight, a private relationship became a national scandal. The call-outs did not stop. Studio executives distanced themselves. Some theaters refused to show her films. Sermons mentioned her as an example of moral decline. Her family in Sweden fielded questions they never invited and did not know how to answer. Bergman stayed in Italy while the wave grew. Friends said she was stunned not only by the scale of the backlash, but by the anger inside it. The pressure followed her in Europe. Crowds gathered outside hotels to shout about her choices. Security moved with her at airports and train stations. Photographers pushed close enough to slam into her shoulders while yelling questions she refused to answer. Her mail included harsh messages and threats that forced her team to screen every envelope. She was no longer judged as an actress, she was judged as a symbol. She kept working, but often on isolated sets, far from city centers. She limited public appearances and avoided large events in the United States for several years. Even interviews carried a tension that had not been there before. Every question was framed around her personal life instead of her craft. She had to explain herself while knowing the explanation would not change anything. Dorothy Dandridge faced open threats. She stepped into the spotlight in the early 1950s with talent that forced people to pay attention. She sang in top clubs and starred in major studio films. The rise came with danger. America was still in the thick of segregation, and a black woman on Hollywood's main stages drew hostility that followed her from city to city. One of the sharpest examples took place in Las Vegas. She performed at the Last Frontier Hotel, a venue that welcomed her on stage but barred her from staying as a guest. She could sing under neon lights, then head to a boarding house outside the Strip because the hotel refused to give her a room. Staff would escort her in and out through side paths so customers would not complain. Every night reminded her that visibility brought both applause and backlash. Some gigs carried more risk. In Phoenix, she faced a crowd that turned hostile after a rumor spread about her personal life. Angry voices gathered near her dressing room. Security had to clear the hallway before she could leave the venue. Her friends later recalled how she stayed quiet that entire ride out of the city, staring ahead and gripping the door handle. Her mail brought warnings as well. After her Oscar nomination for Carmen Jones, hate letters increased. Some writers threatened to show up at clubs where she performed. Promoters in the South insisted on guards standing near the stage. She entered through kitchens, loading docks or service elevators to avoid confrontations. Even at glamorous Hollywood events, she had to think about placement, exits, and who might approach. Stories about a hotel draining a pool after she touched the water followed her for years. Versions differed, but the point stayed the same. She knew venues enforced rules designed to humiliate her. Racism was not subtle. It was written into the spaces she worked in. Every tour required careful planning. Routes changed when cities looked unsafe. She kept her circle small, and she watched crowds with caution before stepping onto any stage. Joan Crawford lived with extortion. By the early 1950s, Joan Crawford's career was steady, but her private life kept drawing the wrong kind of attention. She had lived through earlier scandals, yet this period brought a different threat. People around her understood that she was vulnerable to anyone who tried to use her past against her. Some did exactly that. One case began when personal letters disappeared from her home. The notes were from a period before her MGM success, written to someone she trusted at the time. Those letters surfaced in the hands of a man who claimed he had the right to publish them. He demanded money to keep them out of the papers. He hinted at more documents he could release if she refused. His tone was direct, and his timing was deliberate. Crawford was preparing for major work and did not want a press storm. Her attorney advised her to involve police. The threat was serious enough that investigators tracked the man and questioned people connected to him. Crawford changed her phone number and asked her staff to log every unexpected visit or call. Studio security stood outside her door on nights when the tension ran high. There were other attempts as well. Another person approached her with claims of early photos taken before she became famous. They were not the polished portraits seen in fan magazines. They were private images taken when she was young and struggling. The individual offered to help her by holding them back for the right price. It was a clear attempt to push her into a corner. Crawford did not give in. She let the cases move through legal channels while keeping her distance from reporters. When she left home, a driver stayed close. When she returned, staff checked the gate and the yard before she stepped out. Friends said she slept lightly, waking at small noises because she feared someone might be trying to break in or deliver another threat. Work continued, but each day had a layer of caution. She scanned her mail before opening anything. She kept her address private and changed her routine when she noticed unfamiliar cars near her home. Marilyn Monroe knew she was watched. In the late 1950s, Marilyn Monroe's world shifted from studio glamour to political scrutiny. Her marriage to Arthur Miller put her near writers and activists who drew attention from federal agencies. Miller was already under review for his political associations, and Monroe appeared in those files by proximity. She began to sense that normal privacy no longer applied. Federal documents released years later confirmed that agents tracked her activities, noting her contacts and her support for certain groups. They collected reports from informants about her conversations, her travel, and the gatherings she attended. None of this was secret to officials. It was secret to her. She only understood the scale when small hints surfaced. Monroe told friends that calls sometimes clicked in the middle of conversations. She joked about it at first, then stopped joking. She unplugged phones when meetings took place in her home. She kept her voice low when discussing anything related to politics or her marriage. People close to her recalled how she would glance toward corners of the room before speaking, almost as if she expected someone to be listening. Journalists who followed her through the city noted how fast crowds formed around her. Some were harmless fans. Others pushed too close. Security had to step between her and strangers more often as her fame grew. The attention felt different from the usual press buzz. The political tension made everything sharper. During her marriage to Miller, she traveled to New York, Los Angeles, London, and Mexico. Each trip drew new eyes. She was photographed leaving buildings that had nothing to do with her work. Reporters asked questions that came from sources she never met. She became more guarded with assistants, more selective with invitations, and more careful about what she signed. Even simple outings became complicated. She told friends she worried about who might follow her car. She moved between hotels and apartments when fans or photographers learned her location. She kept curtains closed in places where she once enjoyed open windows and late-night views of the city. Judy Garland pushed past safety. On the MGM lot, Judy Garland learned early that rest was not part of the schedule. As a teenager, she was already working adult hours. Call times came before sunrise. Shooting often ran past midnight. Studio handlers watched her weight, her lines, and her mood with equal focus. Doctors on the payroll supplied pills to keep her thin and awake. Stimulants started the day. Sedatives ended it. Meals were restricted. People around her told her that this was the price of stardom. If she complained, the answer was simple. There were other girls who would take her place. She heard that message enough times to believe it. By the early 1940s, the pattern was locked in. Long rehearsals, musical numbers, publicity stills, then late recording sessions. Sleep came in short pieces. Her heart raced. Her hand shook. She still had to smile into the camera. When she stumbled on set, the fix was another tablet, not a break. She grew afraid of saying no to anything that might help her get through the day. There were signs her body was failing. She fainted during shoots. She disappeared from sets and returned looking exhausted. Studio notes from this period talk about unreliable behavior but ignore the strain of the regimen. When she broke down, the solution was often a quick stay in a clinic, then a push back to work. The cycle did not change. Off-set, fear followed her into hotel rooms and rented houses. She worried about her heart. She worried about not waking up after another mix of pills. Friends recalled late-night calls from her, asking if they thought she would be fired or if the studio would drop her the next time she refused a demand. Losing work meant losing protection, so she kept moving. By the late 1940s, she missed several productions and was suspended more than once. Each suspension deepened the panic. She had children to support and debts to handle. Natalie Wood, afraid of water. The bridge snapped before the director called cut. Natalie Wood was a child on the set of The Green Promise in 1949, standing on a small wooden span built over a rushing stream. The scene called for a collapse. The timing went wrong. The boards fell early. She plunged into the water, struck a rock, and came up with a broken wrist and a deep sense of terror. Crew members pulled her out quickly, but the fear did not wash away. From that day, dark water became the thing she feared most. She learned to swim well enough to get by, yet she avoided lakes, deep pools, and rough seas whenever she could. Even baths and showers had to be planned, so she felt secure. People close to her mentioned how she kept one hand on a steady surface if the level rose too high. As she grew into a major star in the 1950s and 1960s, that fear clashed with the roles she was offered. Scripts called for boat scenes, seaside shots, and long days on docks. She agreed to some of them, but only with strict rules. Life jackets stayed close. Safety divers waited just out of frame. She argued with directors who wanted her to lean farther over the side or stand near railings without support. Friends described car rides past the ocean where she asked drivers to move inland. On yachts, she refused to stay on deck after dark. She checked railings with her hands before walking along them. The risk felt real, not abstract. She had already learned what could happen when a simple stunt went wrong. In November 1981, she joined her husband Robert Wagner and actor Christopher Walken on a weekend trip near Catalina Island. The group stayed on a yacht overnight. Sometime before dawn, Wood ended up in the cold water beside the boat. Rescue teams later found her body not far from the shore. Reports noted bruises, wine, and a missing inflatable dinghy. The death certificate listed drowning and other factors as the cause. Hollywood's dirty laundry is getting a full spin cycle. Howard Hughes, the man who put the eccentric in eccentric billionaire, kicks off our parade of stars. This aviation mogul turned Hollywood hotshot was a real-life Tony Stark, minus the cool suit, plus a whole lot of crazy. In the roaring 20s, Hughes burst onto the scene faster than the arrival of talkies. Making movies wasn't enough for him. He had to conquer the skies, too. Hughes set aviation records that had the whole nation cheering. While he was flying high in public, his private life was spiraling out of control. His descent into madness was just beginning. By the 50s, Howard was deeper in the loony bin than Alice in Wonderland. His severe OCD turned him into a recluse. He hoarded his own pee and wore tissue boxes as shoes. Talk about a fashion statement. This eccentric billionaire was once Tinseltown's most eligible bachelor. He dated more Hollywood starlets than there are stars on the Walk of Fame. His little black book included big names like Katharine Hepburn and Ava Gardner. But no amount of glamorous arm candy could save him from himself. Hughes isolated himself completely. He retreated to dark hotel rooms, his mind tangled in paranoia and obsession. Even in his hermit state, Hughes wasn't done shocking people. By the end of his life, he had grown a long beard, had his fingernails spiral into long, twisted shapes, and weighed barely 90 pounds. His bizarre descent into madness is what people remember most. He became a legend for all the wrong reasons, the ultimate cautionary tale about the dangers of flying too close to the sun. But Hollywood wasn't done churning out scandals just yet. Enter Fatty Arbuckle, a comedic giant whose career was shattered by a scandal that rocked Tinseltown. Arbuckle, the king of silent film comedy, was beloved by audiences. They couldn't get enough of his slapstick charm. But in 1921, his reputation came crashing down. He was accused of raping and murdering actress Virginia Rapp during one of his infamous parties. The media frenzy that followed painted Arbuckle as Hollywood's biggest villain before the trial even began. The details of the case were murky. That didn't stop the tabloids. Arbuckle's trial became a public spectacle. Every salacious accusation was splashed across the front pages. Although he was acquitted after 3 trials, the damage was done. His career was ruined. Hollywood, eager to clean up its image after the scandal, blacklisted him. Arbuckle, once the comedic darling of silent film, became a pariah. His name became forever tied to the dark side of Hollywood's excesses. Arbuckle's fall from grace was swift and brutal. He went from being one of the highest-paid actors in the world to a cautionary tale. Fame, as he learned, could turn into infamy overnight. The case set a grim precedent in Hollywood. No matter how beloved a star might be, one scandal can end it all. To make matters worse, even after his acquittal, the damage to his reputation never fully healed. Arbuckle tried to make a comeback under the pseudonym Will Be Good, but Hollywood was unforgiving. He only found minor success in short films before his sudden death in 1933, just after signing a new contract. If Arbuckle's fall from grace showed how unforgiving Hollywood could be, Charlie Chaplin's story proved how even the most beloved icons weren't safe from scandal. On screen, Chaplin's little tramp had the world laughing, but off-screen, his personal life was far from funny. Chaplin had a well-documented history of relationships with much younger women. In 1924, it all came crashing down. At 35, Chaplin married 16-year-old actress Lita Gray after she became pregnant. The media went wild. The marriage quickly turned into a tabloid disaster. The messy divorce spilled all kinds of secrets about Chaplin's affairs and controlling behavior, but that wasn't the only scandal Chaplin faced. His political views, especially his sympathies toward communism, made him a target during the Red Scare. The U.S. government wasn't thrilled about a politically outspoken star, especially one with Chaplin's level of influence, so they blacklisted him. By the 1950s, Chaplin's once untouchable status in Hollywood was a distant memory. Forced into exile in Europe, his Hollywood career came to an abrupt halt. His legacy, once sparkling, was now tainted by personal and political controversies. Chaplin's downfall highlighted Hollywood's fickle nature with its stars. He had been the world's most famous entertainer, but when scandal struck, Hollywood turned its back. Despite his enormous contributions to cinema, Chaplin found himself on the wrong side of history. Adding insult to injury, Chaplin's political troubles came to a head when he was denied re-entry to the U.S. after a trip to Europe in 1952. He lived out his later years in Switzerland, far from the Hollywood that once adored him. Over in the Hollywood spotlight, Peter Lawford was living the dream. The dashing English actor made a name for himself in the 1940s and 1950s. But it was his marriage to Patricia Kennedy that really put him on the map. Becoming part of the Kennedy dynasty gave Lawford prestige few actors could ever dream of. He was Hollywood royalty with a political edge. He rubbed elbows with the elite, living the high life. But Lawford's charm couldn't keep his demons away. His hard-partying ways, womanizing, and drug use soon overshadowed his career. The pressures of being a Kennedy-in-law didn't help either. By the 1960s, Lawford's marriage to Patricia was falling apart. His Hollywood career wasn't doing much better. The man who seemed to have it all was losing everything, fast. Hollywood, never forgiving to troubled stars, began to shut its doors on him. By the 1970s, Lawford was more of a Hollywood footnote than a leading man. His once golden connection to the Kennedys was just a memory. His roles had dried up, and he found himself more on the outskirts of the industry. As his fame faded, Lawford became a tragic reminder of how quickly Hollywood can turn on its stars. His life, once filled with power and glamour, ended in relative obscurity. The press focused more on his troubled past than his work on the big screen. Adding to the tragedy, Lawford struggled with health issues related to his drug and alcohol abuse. He passed away in 1984, largely forgotten by the industry that once adored him. Montgomery Clift, on the other hand, fought a battle that wasn't about public scandals but personal demons. Clift, known for his intense performances and brooding good looks, was one of Hollywood's most talented actors. But in 1956, a car accident changed everything. The crash left him severely disfigured. Though he continued acting, the physical and emotional scars were hard to hide. Clift turned to alcohol and pills to cope with the pain. His once promising career soon took a back seat to his personal struggles. Hollywood, ever the fickle lover, began to distance itself from Clift as his addiction deepened. Despite delivering some of his finest performances after the accident, his reputation as a tortured soul took over. The media focused more on his suffering than his talent. Even his close friendship with Elizabeth Taylor couldn't save him from his downward spiral. Clift's pain became his defining feature. It overshadowed the incredible talent that once made him one of Hollywood's brightest stars. Clift's tragic decline ended with his death in 1966 at the age of 45. He passed away from a heart attack, likely brought on by years of addiction. His story is one of heartbreak and brilliance, a reminder of how unforgiving Hollywood can be. Despite his struggles, Clift left behind a legacy of unforgettable performances. But sadly, it was his pain that the world remembers most. Adding to the tragedy, Clift was one of the first actors to openly challenge the Hollywood system. Refusing to sign long-term studio contracts, he sought artistic freedom, a move that was rare for his time, but the price he paid was steep, both professionally and personally. Anthony Perkins, meanwhile, was fighting his own hidden war. Known for his iconic role as Norman Bates in Psycho, Perkins became an instant star. His portrayal of the disturbed motel owner cemented him as one of Hollywood's most talented actors. But behind the scenes, Perkins was hiding a secret. In an era when being openly gay could end a career, Perkins lived a double life. He maintained relationships with women to keep up appearances, all while privately struggling with his sexuality. The pressure to reconcile his public and private lives took its toll. Hollywood wasn't ready for an openly gay leading man. In 1973, Perkins married photographer Barry Berenson, and they had 2 children. But his secret life never disappeared. It wasn't until his death from AIDS-related complications in 1992 that the truth about his sexuality became widely known. Perkins's story showed how far Hollywood still had to go in accepting its stars for who they truly were. Despite his personal struggles, Perkins's talent was undeniable. His performances, especially in Psycho, remain iconic. But the pressure to conform to Hollywood's heteronormative expectations cast a shadow over his career. Behind the fame, Perkins was another actor struggling to be accepted in an industry that demanded perfection. Adding to the tragedy, Perkins spent much of his life in fear of being outed. He went through conversion therapy in his early years, hoping to cure his homosexuality, a sign of the intense societal pressures of his time. Even as his fame grew, he never felt fully free to be himself. Hollywood's ideals of masculinity weren't limited to Perkins's struggles. Rock Hudson stood as the ultimate symbol of Tinseltown's perfect leading man. Tall, handsome, and charming, Hudson embodied 1950s masculinity. He was everything Hollywood wanted in a leading man. But like Perkins, Hudson was hiding a secret. He was gay. In an industry that demanded its leading men be paragons of heterosexuality, Hudson went to great lengths to keep his private life hidden. He even married his agent's secretary to maintain the facade. Hudson's secret stayed intact until the 1980s. Then he became the first major celebrity to die of AIDS. His death shocked the world and brought much-needed attention to the AIDS epidemic. It also shattered the carefully crafted image he had maintained for decades. The man who had embodied the all-American heartthrob was revealed to be someone Hollywood had never truly known. Hudson's death changed the conversation around AIDS and homosexuality in Hollywood. It also highlighted the immense pressure stars faced to keep their true selves hidden. Hudson's name is a complicated one. He was a trailblazer, though unwillingly, in breaking down the stigma around AIDS. But he lived most of his life in fear of being discovered. His death, more than his life, changed Hollywood forever. Adding to the tragedy, Hudson's diagnosis was kept a secret for as long as possible. He continued to appear in public even as his health declined, with the media speculating but never confirming. His close friends, including Doris Day, stood by him in his final days. But the truth about his illness and sexuality wasn't fully revealed until the very end. Amid the reflection on Hudson's untold truths, Roman Polanski found himself in a scandal that would haunt him for decades. By the 1970s, Polanski was one of Hollywood's most celebrated directors. He had delivered hits like Rosemary's Baby and Chinatown. But in 1977, his world came crashing down. He was charged with unlawful sexual conduct with a 13-year-old girl. The details of the case were shocking. Polanski's defense only made things worse. Instead of facing the charges, he fled to Europe, where he has lived in exile ever since. Despite the scandal, Polanski continued making films. Hollywood seemed conflicted about how to handle his legacy. In 2003, he won an Academy Award for The Pianist. He couldn't accept it in person due to his fugitive status. Polanski's case raises one of Hollywood's eternal questions. Can you separate the art from the artist? Some in the industry still support him. Others see him as a symbol of Hollywood's long history of protecting powerful men at the expense of justice. Adding to the controversy, several attempts to extradite Polanski back to the U.S. have failed over the years. Many high-profile figures in the industry continue to defend him, citing his contributions to cinema. Others, however, view his continued success as a glaring example of Hollywood's willingness to overlook wrongdoing when it suits them. In a completely different Hollywood narrative, Robert Downey Jr. lived his wild journey right in the public eye. Downey's rise and fall is one of Hollywood's most famous redemption stories, but for a while it looked like he might never make it back. In the late 80s and early 90s, RDJ was the golden boy of young Hollywood. He was celebrated for his raw talent and effortless charm, but beneath the surface he was battling a drug addiction that threatened to destroy everything. By the late 90s, Downey's career was in shambles. Multiple arrests and rehab stints made him a tabloid regular. For years, Downey seemed like a lost cause. Hollywood didn't want to touch him. His once promising career had all but vanished. Downey was in and out of jail, with directors and studios refusing to take a chance on him. But in 2008, everything changed. Downey landed the role of Tony Stark in Iron Man. The film didn't just resurrect his career, it launched the Marvel Cinematic Universe. Downey became one of the most bankable stars in Hollywood. Downey's transformation from Hollywood outcast to box office king is nothing short of miraculous. After years of addiction and legal troubles, he rebuilt his reputation from the ground up. Iron Man was a turning point, and his success paved the way for him to take on other blockbuster roles. He became a key figure in the Marvel franchise, which grossed billions worldwide. Not everyone was riding the wave of redemption. Charlie Sheen, once a beloved Hollywood fixture, was heading straight for a very public implosion. Sheen had been a big star since the 80s, with roles in hits like Platoon and Wall Street. But by the 2000s, his off-screen antics were overshadowing his work. Known for his wild partying and heavy drug use, Sheen became infamous for his larger-than-life personality. In 2011, things took a serious turn when he was fired from 2.5 Men, the highest-paid role on TV at the time. What followed was a very public breakdown that turned Sheen into a walking punchline. Ranting about tiger blood and winning, his meltdown became an internet sensation. But it also marked the end of his Hollywood career. Sheen tried to capitalize on his newfound notoriety with a comedy tour. It was clear, though, that his days as a serious actor were over. Unlike Robert Downey Jr., Sheen's collapse didn't lead to a redemption story. It became the final chapter in a career that burned out in spectacular fashion. Sheen's flameout is one of the most infamous in Hollywood history. It's proof that in Tinseltown, you can go from the top of the world to rock bottom in the blink of an eye. His rants may have made for great tabloid fodder, but they also mark the tragic end of a once promising career. Hollywood loves a train wreck, but not every train wreck gets a happy ending. Adding to the chaos, Sheen's personal life spiraled even further after the breakdown. Legal troubles, public feuds, and health issues, including his 2015 HIV diagnosis, became headline news. His career, once filled with promise, became a cautionary tale about fame's darker side. As Sheen's meltdown stole the spotlight, Brad Pitt and Jennifer Aniston were quietly unraveling their golden romance. It marked the end of one of Hollywood's most cherished love stories. In the early 2000s, Brad and Jen were America's golden couple. They were the epitome of relationship goals before hashtags were even a thing. But things took a dramatic turn when Brad started filming Mr. and Mrs. Smith with Angelina Jolie. The on-screen chemistry between Brad and Angie was undeniable. Soon, rumors of an off-screen romance began swirling. By 2005, Brad and Jen announced their separation. Brangelina was born. The tabloids went into overdrive. They painted Jen as the heartbroken victim and Angelina as the homewrecker. Meanwhile, Brad and Angelina were building a family. They adopted children and welcomed biological ones into their growing brood. Jen, on the other hand, focused on her career. She handled the media circus with grace, while the world watched Brad and Angelina's every move. But by 2016, even Brangelina couldn't escape Hollywood's curse. Angelina filed for divorce, kicking off a bitter custody battle. It had all the makings of a Hollywood drama. The fairy tale was over. The world was left wondering if there's ever truly a happy ending in Hollywood. Adding to the intrigue, Brad later admitted to struggles with alcohol during his marriage to Angelina, which contributed to their split. The fallout from their divorce played out in the press, with fans revisiting the infamous love triangle between Brad, Jen, and Angelina. Though Jen moved on, the narrative surrounding these three remained one of Hollywood's most enduring sagas. And speaking of messy Hollywood breakups, no one did it quite like Johnny Depp and Amber Heard. Their whirlwind romance, which began on the set of The Rum Diary, seemed like a match made in Hollywood heaven. Two A-list stars full of charm and beauty headlining their own love story both on and off the screen. But that romantic facade crumbled quickly. By 2016, the couple was embroiled in a bitter divorce. Heard accused Depp of domestic abuse and filed for a restraining order. Depp, not one to stay silent, hit back with defamation claims, insisting he was the victim of false accusations. What once seemed like a golden relationship became a Hollywood horror show. The media couldn't get enough. Every messy detail of their relationship played out in the tabloids like a bad reality TV show. Paparazzi swarmed. Leaked audio recordings, photos, and shocking courtroom claims only fueled the fire. Both Depp and Heard became tabloid fixtures, with the public eagerly taking sides. The spectacle grew so intense that it became less about who was right and more about the drama itself. Their courtroom battles were scrutinized, memified, and turned into cultural talking points. It was a front-row seat to the unraveling of two Hollywood careers in real time, and neither came out looking unscathed. But the real drama unfolded in 2022. Depp sued Heard for defamation in a televised trial that gripped the world. The courtroom became a stage for the final act of their tragic saga. Shocking testimonies, emotional outbursts, and jaw-dropping accusations stole the spotlight. Every moment was dissected by millions, turning the trial into a media circus. In the end, Depp won the defamation case, but it was a hollow victory. The damage to both stars' reputations was irreversible. What began as a Hollywood fairy tale ended as one of the most infamous breakups in the industry. As Depp and Heard were duking it out in court, Ellen DeGeneres was facing a crisis of her own. For years, Ellen had been the undisputed queen of daytime TV. She charmed audiences with her infectious positivity, generous giveaways, and famous dance. Her "Be Kind" mantra was her brand. She seemed untouchable until 2020, when cracks in her pristine facade began to show. Former employees came forward with shocking allegations. They accused the Ellen DeGeneres Show of fostering a toxic workplace. The claims painted a much darker picture of the beloved host. Suddenly, the Queen of Nice was being portrayed as the Queen of Mean. The backlash was swift and brutal. Stories of mistreatment, bullying, and discrimination surfaced. The public's perception of Ellen shifted dramatically. Ratings for her once dominant talk show plummeted. Viewers began questioning the authenticity of her kindness. Ellen issued public apologies, trying to address the accusations and save her brand. But the damage had been done. The aura of untouchability that had surrounded her for years was shattered. Hollywood watched as one of its most iconic TV figures faced a reckoning. By 2022, Ellen announced the end of her long-running show. It signaled the close of a chapter that was far more complicated than anyone could have anticipated.
Barbie Benton, a name synonymous with glamour, a face that graced magazine covers, and a life wrapped in the sparkle of Hollywood's golden era. Yet behind the sequins and smiles lies a trail of secrets and stories untold, whispers of a life far more intricate than the public ever glimpsed. What hidden depths lie beneath the image of this entertainment world's darling, and how did a girl once known for her beauty become an unsung architect of her own destiny? Hidden chords of fame. Before the flashing cameras and the glitz of stardom, Barbie Benton harbored a passion that struck a chord quite literally: music. While the world fixated on her beauty and her ties to the Playboy empire, few knew that Barbie's first love was the melody and harmony of song. Her musical journey began long before the fame, in the quiet corners of her adolescence, where she honed her skills on the piano and guitar, crafting the foundation of what would become a significant yet overshadowed part of her career. In the early 1970s, Barbie's vocal talents came to light as she serenaded audiences on television, showcasing a sultry voice that was as captivating as her image.
With a mind young and wild, and a body that the...
She released several albums, and while her musical career may not have reached the dizzying heights of her modeling, it was a testament to her multifaceted abilities. Songs like Brass Buckles and Ain't That Just the Way charted internationally, hinting at the depth of talent beneath the surface. But music was more than just a career path for Barbie. It was an escape, a way to express her inner world, and a realm where she held the reins. Behind the studio doors, she was not just a performer, but a creative force, involved in the songwriting and production processes. Her music spoke of love and life, infusing country with pop, and it carried the authenticity of her experiences. Her collaborations with artists like Dolly Parton and Glenn Campbell added layers to her musical persona, positioning her within a network of country legends, yet she remained an enigma, her music career a hidden gem overshadowed by her more publicized endeavors. As we delve deeper into the life of Barbie Benton, stay tuned for the next reveal, how a young woman known for her appearances in the pages of Playboy and on arm of its mogul quietly influenced one of the most iconic brands of the 20th century. The Mansion Whisperer, inside Barbie Benton's influence on the Playboy empire. Barbie Benton's name is often whispered in the same breath as the Playboy Mansion, yet few understand the gravity of her influence within its legendary walls. Beyond her public persona as Hugh Hefner's paramour, Benton was a key figure in shaping the cultural and physical landscape of the Playboy empire. It was Barbie who, in the early 1970s, discovered the sprawling estate that would become the Playboy Mansion West. Her keen eye for design and architecture played a crucial role in its transformation into a symbol of luxury and hedonism. But her influence didn't stop at mere aesthetics. She left an indelible mark on the ethos of the brand. With her sophisticated taste and understanding of the era's zeitgeist, she helped guide Hefner's vision, turning Playboy into a bastion of the sexual revolution. Her involvement in the mansion's legendary events is part of the untold tapestry of her life. Benton didn't just attend these extravagant gatherings. She helped orchestrate them, ensuring that each party was more than just a night of revelry, but an event that encapsulated the spirit of an era. From the grotto to the game room, her touches are evident, though seldom credited. Yet, there's a side to this story that remains shrouded in mystery. While the world saw the mansion as a pleasure palace, for Barbie, it was a complex network of relationships and power dynamics. Her time there was a balancing act of personal and public life, one that required a deep understanding of the intricacies of fame, fortune, and influence. Screen Siren Stories, Barbie Benton's Ventures Beyond the Velvet Rope. Barbie Benton's acting career is a patchwork of roles that offer a glimpse into her versatility as a performer. In 1970, she stepped onto the acting stage, not as Hugh Hefner's girlfriend, but as a fresh face on Hee Haw, where her comedic aptitude quickly became apparent. Barbie's ability to light up the room with her humor and charm marked the beginning of her journey as an actress, not just a model. Her transition to the screen included appearances on popular shows like The Love Boat in 1977 and Fantasy Island in 1981, where she showcased her adaptability and dramatic flair. Each character she portrayed was a deliberate step away from her Playboy image, a testament to her pursuit of diversity and challenging roles. In Hospital Massacre, 1982, Benton tackled a rare leading role, navigating the horror genre with a performance that highlighted her range beyond the expectations set by her modeling career. Despite her efforts, the roles offered to Barbie often reflected the industry's typecasting, an obstacle she met with resilience, selecting parts that allowed her to explore different facets of her talent. For instance, in the series Sugar Time, 1977-1978, her portrayal of a woman leading an all-female band in a male-dominated industry mirrored her own struggles within Hollywood. Throughout the 1970s and early 1980s, Barbie built a filmography that, while not headlining box office charts, was marked by her commitment to her craft. She didn't merely play roles, she sought to embody the characters with authenticity and passion, often contributing to the creative process behind the scenes. Barbie Benton's career in acting might not have eclipsed her Playboy fame, but it was filled with performances that spoke to her dedication as an actress. As we move forward in our exploration, we'll peel back the curtain on Barbie's personal life, her romances, and the heartaches that played out when the studio lights dimmed. Stay tuned as we delve into the real-life love stories of Barbie Benton, revealing the heart behind the public persona. Love Life Unscripted, the romances and heartbreaks off the camera. Barbie Benton's love life, while often a subject of public fascination due to her high-profile relationship with Hugh Hefner, encompasses more than the walls of the Playboy mansion. Her romances have been as multifaceted as her career, marked by moments both tender and turbulent. Her long-standing relationship with Hefner began in 1969, when Benton was only 19 and he was 42. This relationship unfolded in the public eye, with Barbie often regarded as Hefner's most significant partner during the 1970s. However, less is known about her life after their breakup in 1976, a period when Barbie sought to forge her identity separate from the Playboy brand. In the years that followed, Barbie's heart would venture into new territories. She found love with real estate developer George Grado in 1979. Their relationship blossomed away from the cameras, and they married in 1979. This marked a shift for Benton, who had been a fixture in the limelight, as she began to embrace a more private existence, focusing on family and personal fulfillment. Their union was characterized by a strong bond and shared values, with the couple welcoming 2 children. Unlike her time with Hefner, her life with Grado was marked by a desire for normalcy and privacy, a stark contrast to the glitzy image many associated with her. Barbie's romantic life is a narrative of contrasts, from a public figure in a glamorous world to a woman seeking the quietude of a private life. Her journey through love reflects the complexities of a life lived in the spotlight and the pursuit of personal happiness beyond it. A fashion icon's blueprint, Barbie Benton's secret style influence. Barbie Benton's impact on fashion during the 1970s and 1980s was profound, yet her contributions have often been overshadowed by her association with Playboy. Benton wasn't just a model who wore the clothes given to her. She was an arbiter of style, influencing trends and inspiring designers. Her unique fashion sense was a blend of sophistication and sensuality, a hallmark of the era's glamorous aesthetic. During her heyday, Benton's appearances were not just photo ops. They were fashion statements that captured the zeitgeist of the times. Her penchant for bold prints, bell-bottoms, and the iconic bunny costume played a role in setting the fashion agenda. She embraced and often contributed to the design of her own ensembles, bringing an authenticity to her style that resonated with the public. Barbie's influence extended beyond the camera lens. She was a fixture in the front rows of fashion shows and a muse to designers who valued her feedback and vision. In a time when fashion was becoming more expressive and personal, Barbie Benton was at the forefront, pushing boundaries and setting trends. Her legacy in fashion is a narrative interwoven with her public persona, yet it stands on its own as a testament to her innate understanding of style and her ability to forecast trends. As we explore Benton's life further, her fashion legacy is a reminder that she was not just a face in a magazine, but a creator of style that has left a lasting impression. Beyond the glitz, philanthropy, and life after the limelight. After stepping back from the glare of Hollywood's spotlight, Barbie Benton channeled her energy into philanthropy, a chapter of her life that speaks volumes about her character. Behind the glamorous facade that the public was accustomed to lay a compassionate heart and a commitment to giving back. In the quiet of her post-fame life, Benton dedicated herself to numerous charitable causes, often away from the media's eye. She lent her support to organizations focused on children's health and education, recognizing the power of her platform to effect positive change. With her characteristic grace, she attended fundraisers, donated to worthy causes, and volunteered her time, all without fanfare. One of her notable contributions was to the music therapy program at the UCLA Mattel Children's Hospital. Understanding the healing power of music, Barbie helped fund programs that brought comfort and joy to sick children. Her involvement went beyond mere donations. She was hands-on, often seen participating in hospital events and even singing for the children, bringing smiles to their faces during difficult times. Barbie's philanthropic efforts also extended to environmental causes. Passionate about wildlife and conservation, she supported initiatives that protected endangered species and promoted sustainable living. Her home became a reflection of this passion, with an emphasis on eco-friendly design and living practices. The narrative of Barbie Benton's philanthropic work is a sharp contrast to the glittering life she once led. It reveals a depth of character and a desire to contribute to the world in a meaningful way. As we delve deeper into her life story, we uncover a woman whose beauty is matched by her generosity and whose influence extends far beyond what the public has seen. Private melodies, the personal life, Barbie shielded from the world. In the symphony of Barbie Benton's life, there are melodies that remained private, harmonies that echoed behind closed doors, away from the public's prying eyes. Despite her high-profile relationships and her image as a glamorous starlet, Benton fiercely protected her personal life, cherishing the quiet moments that fame couldn't infiltrate. Barbie's personal life has always been layered and complex, defined by more than her celebrity status. Her romance with real estate developer George Gradeau, whom she married in 1979, was a testament to her desire for a stable and nurturing home life. Their relationship was built on mutual respect and love, a sanctuary from the unpredictability of show business. Together, they raised 2 children, Alexander and Ariana, in a household where privacy was paramount, and the entertainment industry was just a backdrop. The Benton-Gradeau family life was idyllic in many ways, set against the beauty of their homes in Los Angeles and Aspen. Barbie created a world for her family that was rooted in normalcy and shielded from the tabloid culture. She was a hands-on mother, involved in every aspect of her children's upbringing, from school plays to equestrian events, ensuring they had a grounded and well-rounded childhood. Even as her children grew and the demands of motherhood evolved, Barbie maintained her protective stance, keeping her family life discreet and out of the limelight. Her commitment to her family's privacy was unwavering, a reflection of her values and her understanding of the importance of a life beyond the reach of fame. In a world where celebrities' personal lives are often on full display, Barbie Benton chose a different path. She crafted a personal narrative that was hers to hold, a melody of private moments that formed the true soundtrack of her life. Architect of Dreams, exploring Benton's hidden passion for design. Barbie Benton's artistic talents extend beyond the stage and screen, manifesting in a less public yet profoundly impactful realm: architectural and interior design. Benton's penchant for design is not widely known, yet her work in this field showcases the same creativity and attention to detail that she brought to her entertainment career. In the 1970s, Benton began expressing her vision through the design of her own homes. She worked closely with architects and designers, meticulously planning every inch of space, choosing materials, and overseeing construction. Her homes were not mere dwellings, but expressions of her aesthetic, an embodiment of her personal style and sensibility. One of Benton's most ambitious projects was the construction of her house in Aspen, Colorado. It was here that her skills flourished, culminating in a home that was both a retreat and a masterpiece. The residence, which she shared with her husband George Gradeau, reflected her love for rustic elegance and her affinity for natural materials. It became a harmonious blend of luxury and comfort, nestled in the picturesque landscape of the Rocky Mountains. Benton's approach to design was holistic. She believed that a home should be a sanctuary, a place that reflects the soul of its inhabitants. Her design philosophy centered around creating spaces that were not only visually stunning but also functional and inviting. Each room told a story, with carefully curated pieces, custom furniture, and art that spoke to her eclectic taste. Her design work has been recognized in several publications, highlighting her talent for transforming spaces into works of art. Benton's legacy in design is a testament to her multifaceted abilities and her relentless pursuit of beauty in all its forms. Barbie Benton may be best remembered for her time in front of the camera, but her work as a designer reveals another dimension to her character. As we continue to explore the layers of Benton's life, we witness a woman whose artistic vision knows no bounds and whose passion for design has left a lasting imprint on the world of architecture. The Wellness Advocate, Barbie's Secret Health and Wellness Journey. Barbie Benton's journey through the realms of health and wellness is a facet of her life that remained largely away from the headlines. Yet it is within this sphere that she has perhaps made some of her most impactful contributions. Benton's advocacy for wellness reflects her commitment to a holistic lifestyle, embodying the principles of mind-body harmony long before they became mainstream. Her exploration into wellness began as a personal mission, spurred by the health challenges faced by herself and those close to her. This quest led her to delve into the intricacies of nutrition, alternative medicine, and the healing arts. Benton's passion for wellness was not just about her own well-being. It was about sharing her knowledge and resources to help others lead healthier lives. Benton became a proponent of preventative health, emphasizing the importance of natural foods, regular exercise, and mental health awareness. She practiced what she preached, embodying a lifestyle that balanced physical activity with spiritual well-being. Her home in Aspen became a sanctuary where organic gardening and yoga were part of the daily routine. Her advocacy extended to her public life as well. Benton used her platform to raise awareness about health issues, particularly those affecting women. She supported health charities and campaigns, participated in wellness events, and spoke openly about her health philosophy, inspiring her fans to prioritize their well-being. Behind the scenes, Benton was instrumental in championing causes related to health education and access to natural health resources. She quietly contributed to wellness programs and supported initiatives that aimed to bring holistic health practices to a wider audience. The narrative of Barbie Benton as a wellness advocate is a compelling chapter in her life, showcasing a woman dedicated to nurturing the well-being of herself and others. Her holistic approach and dedication to wellness have been a constant thread throughout her life, influencing those around her and contributing to the wider dialogue on health. Legacy in the shadows, the influences and contributions overlooked by fame. Barbie Benton's legacy is one that resounds with quiet influence and subtle impact, much of which has been overshadowed by the more glamorous aspects of her fame. Her multifaceted career and personal interests have left an indelible mark not only on the entertainment industry but also on the many lives she has touched through her lesser-known endeavors. Throughout her time in the public eye, Benton has been a muse and a trendsetter, but her behind-the-scenes roles as a philanthropist, designer, and wellness advocate speak to a deeper contribution. Her influence extends into the realms of environmental conservation, health education, and the arts, areas where her input and support have often gone unrecognized. Her philanthropic efforts, particularly those directed towards environmental causes and children's health and education, reveal a compassionate spirit committed to making a tangible difference. Benton's advocacy for sustainable living and her hands-on approach to supporting various charities demonstrate her dedication to leaving a positive legacy beyond her celebrity status. Moreover, Benton's contributions to design and architecture show a visionary mind at work, one that has shaped physical spaces with the same creativity she once brought to the stage. Her unique aesthetic and passion for creating environments that nurture the soul have inspired many to view their living spaces as sanctuaries for wellness and expression. As a wellness advocate, Barbie has been ahead of her time, championing holistic health practices and mental well-being before they became part of the cultural lexicon. Her commitment to leading a balanced life and encouraging others to do the same has had a ripple effect, contributing to the growing awareness of the importance of health in all its dimensions. Barbie Benton's legacy is rich and varied, with many of her contributions remaining in the shadows yet profoundly influential. As we wrap up our exploration of her life, we are reminded that fame is but one part of a person's story. The true measure of impact is found in the quiet moments, the generous acts, and the creative endeavors that resonate with people's lives long after the spotlight fades. In the summer of 1977, the world was abuzz with the release of The Spy Who Loved Me, a James Bond film that introduced a new kind of femme fatale. Amidst the glitz of the premiere, one woman stole the spotlight, not just as a Bond girl, but as a figure shrouded in allure and mystery. She was Barbara Bach, known for her captivating beauty and enigmatic presence. But behind this dazzling facade, there lay hidden chapters and untold stories that defied the typical Hollywood narrative. On the surface, Bach was the epitome of a 70s screen siren, but her journey to this pinnacle was laced with unexpected twists and turns. From her early days in Queens, New York, to the heights of Hollywood fame, her path was anything but ordinary. Rumors and whispers followed her, painting a picture of a life filled with more intrigue and complexity than any of her on-screen roles. As she stood there, basking in the adulation of fans and photographers, few could have guessed the depth of the secrets she harbored. Her marriage to a rock legend, Ringo Starr, added to her mystique, making her a fixture in both the cinematic and music worlds. But what was the story behind this glamorous union? What truths lay behind the tabloid headlines and the flashing cameras? From Queens to Queen of the Screen, Barbara Bach's story begins far from the glitz of Hollywood in the diverse borough of Queens, New York. Born Barbara Goldbach on August 27, 1947, to a policeman father and a homemaker mother, her early life was a far cry from the glamour she would later embody. Growing up in a modest middle-class family, Barbara's childhood was typical of the post-war American experience, marked by a mix of simplicity and the burgeoning dreams of a new generation. From an early age, Barbara showed an inclination towards the arts. Her striking features and natural grace made her stand out, even as a young girl. However, it wasn't just her physical beauty that set her apart. She possessed a quiet determination and a sense of ambition that was rare for women of her time. Barbara attended a local Catholic high school, where she first began to explore the possibility of a career in modeling. It was a decision that would set her on a path to stardom, though not without its challenges. After high school, Barbara's journey into the world of modeling began in earnest. She quickly made a name for herself, gracing the pages of catalogs and magazines. Her unique look, a blend of classic Hollywood glamour and a modern, relatable appeal, caught the eye of many in the industry. By the age of 16, she had already appeared in major publications, a remarkable feat for someone with no formal training or connections in the fashion world. Barbara's transition from modeling to acting was almost serendipitous. Her natural poise in front of the camera and her ability to convey emotion without words caught the attention of film producers. In the early 1970s, she made her foray into the world of cinema, a move that would forever change the trajectory of her life. Her early roles were small, yet significant, allowing her to hone her craft and learn the intricacies of acting. It was during this period that Barbara underwent a transformation, not just professionally, but personally. She married Italian businessman Count Augusto Gregorini in 1968, a union that brought her 2 children and a life that straddled both Europe and America. This marriage, though not lasting, was a crucial chapter in her life, providing her with experiences and perspectives that would shape her both as a person and as an actress. As Barbara's career progressed, her roles became more prominent, setting the stage for her breakthrough as a Bond girl. But her journey from the streets of Queens to the heart of Hollywood was more than just a tale of fame and success. It was a story of resilience, of a young woman navigating the complexities of an industry known for its fickleness and challenges. Barbara Bach's rise to fame was a testament to her talent, determination, and the unwavering belief in her own potential, qualities that would define her career and her life in the years to come. Bond girl breakthrough, more than meets the eye. The year 1977 marked a pivotal moment in Barbara Bach's career with her role as Anya Amasova in the James Bond film The Spy Who Loved Me. This role catapulted her into international stardom, but it also showcased her ability to bring depth and strength to a character that could have easily been just another decorative Bond girl. Anya Amasova, also known as Agent XXXX, was not your typical Bond girl. She was a skilled Soviet agent, equal in wit and prowess to James Bond himself. Barbara's portrayal of Anya broke new ground in the Bond franchise. She brought a blend of toughness, intelligence, and sensuality to the role, challenging the traditional perceptions of women in the Bond universe. Her performance was a significant departure from the more decorative roles often assigned to women in previous Bond films, making Anya Amasova a memorable and progressive character for the time. Barbara's preparation for the role was intense. She trained rigorously to perform many of her own stunts, adding authenticity to her character's physicality. Her dedication to the role was evident in the final product, as she seamlessly blended action and allure, creating a Bond girl who was more than just a foil or love interest for the protagonist. The Spy Who Loved Me was a major success, both critically and commercially, and Barbara's performance was a standout. The film's iconic scenes, including the underwater sequences and the memorable car chase, were made all the more captivating by her presence. Her chemistry with Roger Moore, who played James Bond, was palpable, adding a layer of complexity to their on-screen relationship. However, the impact of this role on Barbara's career was double-edged. While it brought her immense fame, it also typecast her in the eyes of many. Finding roles that matched the depth and significance of Anya Amasova proved challenging. The industry's inclination to pigeonhole her into similar roles was a hurdle she had to continually navigate. Despite these challenges, Barbara's role in The Spy Who Loved Me remains a significant part of her legacy. It redefined the Bond girl archetype and paved the way for more nuanced and empowered female characters in the franchise. Barbara Bach's portrayal of Anya Amasova was not just a breakthrough in her career, it was a breakthrough in the portrayal of women in action cinema, a role that resonated with audiences and critics alike and remains a defining moment in her career. Love in the Limelight, the Ringo Starr connection. Barbara Bach's life took a romantic turn when she met Ringo Starr, the legendary drummer of the Beatles, during the filming of the movie Caveman in 1980. This encounter sparked a love story that captured the public's imagination and has endured for decades, becoming one of the entertainment industry's most enduring relationships. Their connection was instant and profound, despite coming from vastly different backgrounds. Ringo, a world-famous musician from Liverpool, and Barbara, a rising Hollywood star with a modeling background, they found common ground in their shared experiences in the limelight and the pressures that came with fame. Their romance blossomed amidst the backdrop of the film's production, a prehistoric comedy that saw them both stepping out of their comfort zones. The public was fascinated by this pairing. Ringo Starr, already a household name as part of the world's most famous band, and Barbara Bach, the glamorous Bond girl, made for a compelling duo. Their relationship was followed closely by the media, which often portrayed them as a quintessential celebrity couple, living a life of luxury and excess. However, the reality of their relationship was far more complex and grounded. Barbara and Ringo's bond was tested and strengthened by their individual and shared struggles. Both had faced the challenges of fame and the personal issues that often accompany a life in the public eye. They supported each other through these trials, including Ringo's well-documented battle with alcoholism. Barbara played a significant role in his recovery, and together they embarked on a journey of sobriety that further solidified their relationship. Their marriage in 1981 was a testament to their deep connection. It was not just a union of two celebrities, but a partnership based on mutual respect, understanding, and love. They navigated the ups and downs of life together, maintaining a strong bond that has lasted for over 4 decades. Barbara's relationship with Ringo Starr added a new dimension to her public persona. She became known not just for her work in film and modeling, but also as part of a celebrity couple that has stood the test of time. Their relationship has been a source of fascination and admiration, a rare Hollywood love story that has endured far beyond the usual lifespan of celebrity romances. The story of Barbara Bach and Ringo Starr is more than just a tale of celebrity romance. It is a narrative of resilience, support, and enduring love, a reminder that even in the unpredictable world of fame, genuine connections and lasting relationships are possible. Their journey together continues to captivate and inspire, a testament to the power of love in the face of the ever-changing tides of fame and fortune. The mystery of the missing screen siren. After her rise to fame and her high-profile marriage, Barbara Bach's presence in the Hollywood scene began to wane, leading many to wonder about the sudden retreat of this once ubiquitous screen siren. Her gradual disappearance from the public eye in the late 1980s and 1990s was a source of curiosity and speculation. Following her success in The Spy Who Loved Me and a string of other films, Barbara's acting career slowed down. This shift was not due to a lack of talent or opportunities, but rather a conscious choice. She began to prioritize her personal life over her career, focusing on her family and her marriage to Ringo Starr. This decision was a stark contrast to the typical Hollywood narrative, where careers often take precedence over personal life. Barbara's retreat from the limelight was also influenced by her desire for a more normal life, away from the constant scrutiny and pressure of fame. She and Ringo sought a quieter existence, one that allowed them to focus on their relationship and personal growth. This period saw Barbara stepping away from acting and public appearances, choosing instead to live a life away from the cameras. The lack of public information and her absence from the entertainment industry fueled rumors and speculation. Some speculated about possible career troubles or personal issues, while others wondered if she had left the industry for good. However, the truth was far less sensational. Barbara was simply taking a step back to focus on what mattered most to her, her family and personal well-being. During this time, Barbara also explored other interests and passions. She became involved in various charitable endeavors, particularly those related to addiction recovery and mental health, drawing on her and Ringo's experiences. This work, though less publicized, was a significant part of her life during this period. The mystery of Barbara Bach's retreat from Hollywood is not a tale of downfall or disappearance, but a story of choice and prioritization. It reflects a decision to value personal fulfillment over public acclaim, a choice that is both rare and commendable in the celebrity world. Barbara's life during this period may have been less visible to the public, but it was no less meaningful or impactful, marked by personal growth, family, and a commitment to causes close to her heart. Rumors and realities. The untold stories. Barbara Bach's withdrawal from the public eye led to a proliferation of rumors and conjecture about her life and career. In the absence of concrete information, the media and public often filled the gaps with speculation, some of which strayed far from the truth. One persistent rumor was that Barbara's marriage to Ringo Starr was in trouble, a speculation fueled by the couple's retreat from the public eye. However, contrary to these rumors, their relationship remained strong and supportive. Their decision to step back from the limelight was a mutual one, aimed at focusing on their personal lives and health, particularly in the wake of Ringo's struggles with addiction. Another area of speculation centered around Barbara's career. Some suggested that she had been unable to find work after her stint as a Bond girl, a claim that overlooks the reality of her deliberate choice to reduce her acting commitments. Barbara had opportunities to continue her career in film, but chose to prioritize other aspects of her life. There were also rumors about Barbara's health, with some speculating that she had stepped away from the public eye due to illness. These rumors were unfounded and did not reflect the reality of her situation. Barbara was, in fact, focusing on her well-being in a broader sense, including her mental and emotional health, which was a far cry from the health scares rumored in the press. The speculation about Barbara's life during this period highlights the challenges faced by public figures when they choose to live a more private life. The lack of information can lead to a narrative controlled by rumor and speculation rather than facts. For Barbara, this meant dealing with untrue stories and misconceptions about her life and choices. However, despite these challenges, Barbara remained steadfast in her decision to live life on her terms. She and Ringo maintained a strong, supportive relationship, far from the troubled marriage depicted in the tabloids. Her career choices were made with a clear understanding of her priorities and values, not out of necessity or lack of opportunity. She navigated the complexities of fame and public perception with grace, making choices that were right for her, regardless of public opinion or speculation. Her story during these years is one of resilience and self-determination, a narrative that goes beyond the rumors and reveals the reality of a life lived with intention and purpose. A Quiet Crusade, Bach's unseen advocacy. While Barbara Bach's retreat from the Hollywood spotlight led to various speculations, it also marked a period where she dedicated herself to quieter yet impactful advocacy work. Away from the glare of the cameras, Barbara engaged in philanthropic efforts, particularly focusing on issues close to her heart, such as addiction recovery and mental health. Barbara's personal experiences, especially witnessing Ringo Starr's battle with alcoholism and their joint journey towards sobriety, deeply influenced her advocacy work. She understood the challenges and stigmas associated with addiction and mental health issues, which fueled her commitment to helping others facing similar struggles. One of the key areas of her advocacy was supporting organizations and initiatives that provided help and resources for those battling addiction. She often worked behind the scenes, lending her support in ways that didn't seek public acknowledgement or fame. This approach was reflective of her desire to make a genuine difference rather than garner publicity. Barbara also became involved in mental health initiatives, recognizing the interconnection between mental well-being and addiction recovery. Her work in this field was marked by a compassionate understanding of the complexities of mental health issues, and she advocated for greater awareness and support for those affected. Her philanthropic efforts extended beyond addiction and mental health. Barbara supported various charitable causes, contributing her time and resources to make a positive impact. This aspect of her life, though less known to the public, was a significant part of her identity during this period. Barbara Bach's advocacy work is a crucial part of her story, showcasing a different side of the former actress and model. It reveals her depth, compassion, and commitment to making a difference in the lives of others. Her quiet crusade in the realms of addiction recovery and mental health, along with her broader philanthropic efforts, highlight her as a figure of substance and empathy, qualities that often remained overshadowed by her celebrity status. The Legacy of a Bond Girl, revisiting Barbara Bach. Barbara Bach's legacy in the entertainment industry is inextricably linked to her iconic role as Anya Amasova in The Spy Who Loved Me. While her career encompassed more than this single role, it is this portrayal that has left an indelible mark on Hollywood and the James Bond franchise. Anya Amasova, or Agent XXX, was a groundbreaking character for the Bond series. Barbara's portrayal brought a new dimension to the typical Bond girl. She was not just a love interest or a damsel in distress, but a competent, strong, and independent agent in her own right. This role challenged the traditional narrative and paved the way for more complex and empowered female characters in future Bond films. Barbara's performance as Anya Amasova was both celebrated and critiqued at the time. While some praised her for bringing depth and strength to the character, others were critical of the Bond girl archetype itself, viewing it as a symbol of the objectification of women in cinema. However, Barbara's portrayal stood out for its balance of intelligence, physical prowess, and sensuality, making Anya a memorable and respected character in the Bond universe. Over the years, the perception of Barbara's role in The Spy Who Loved Me has evolved. Today, it is often viewed as a progressive step for its time, with Barbara Bach being credited for infusing the character with a sense of agency and competence rarely seen in previous Bond girls. Beyond her role in the Bond film, Barbara's legacy in Hollywood includes her other film roles and her modeling career. She was part of a generation of actresses who navigated the changing landscape of Hollywood in the 1970s and 1980s, a time when the industry was grappling with evolving narratives around women and their portrayal on screen. In retrospect, Barbara Bach's impact on the film industry extends beyond her on-screen appearances. Her decision to step away from the limelight and focus on her personal life and advocacy work speaks to a broader narrative about the choices and challenges faced by women in Hollywood. It highlights the often difficult balance between professional success and personal fulfillment. Where is Barbara now? Unveiling the present. The question of where is Barbara Bach now resonates with those who remember her as the glamorous Bond girl and the actress who graced the silver screen with her presence. In recent years, Barbara has maintained a low profile, leading many to wonder about her current life and activities. Today, Barbara Bach is far from the Hollywood spotlight, living a life that prioritizes personal fulfillment over public visibility. She continues to share her life with Ringo Starr, with their marriage being one of the longest-lasting unions in the entertainment industry. Their relationship, which began amidst the glitz of Hollywood, has evolved into a deep and enduring partnership. Barbara's current life is characterized by a focus on family, personal well-being, and continued involvement in philanthropic causes. She remains dedicated to her advocacy work, particularly in the areas of addiction, recovery, and mental health, drawing on her and Ringo's personal experiences to contribute positively to these causes. While she has stepped away from acting, Barbara's influence and legacy in the film industry remains significant. Her portrayal of Anya Amasova in The Spy Who Loved Me continues to be celebrated as a pivotal moment in the evolution of female characters in the James Bond series and in Hollywood at large. Barbara's decision to lead a more private life has not diminished the public's fascination with her. She occasionally makes appearances at events, often related to her philanthropic work or supporting Ringo in his musical endeavors. These rare public appearances are a reminder of her enduring presence and the interest she still commands. In many ways, Barbara Bach's current life is a testament to her ability to navigate the complexities of fame and personal choice. She has successfully balanced her public persona with a private life that is rich in personal relationships and meaningful work. Her journey from a celebrated actress to a dedicated advocate and private individual offers a unique narrative about the choices and paths available to those in the public eye.
One minute, an actress is poised to take over the industry, and the next, she's blacklisted. That's exactly what happened to Tippi Hedren in the 1960s. She was plucked from obscurity by Alfred Hitchcock himself, landing the lead role in The Birds and Marnie. To anyone else, it would have seemed like she hit the jackpot, working with one of the most powerful directors in Hollywood. But the dream quickly turned into a nightmare when Hitchcock's attention became more than just professional. Hedren rejected his advances, and that's when things took a sharp turn. Hitchcock didn't just move on. He used his power to lock her into an exclusive contract, ensuring she couldn't work with any other directors. The nightmare didn't stop there. On the set of The Birds, the iconic attic scene pushed Hedren to her breaking point. She had been promised mechanical birds would be used. Instead, real, live birds were unleashed, attacking her, and causing both physical injuries and emotional trauma. It was far from just another day on set. Hedren later revealed that the scene left her so shaken she had to be hospitalized. Despite her undeniable talent and early critical acclaim, the damage was done. Hollywood wasn't ready to rally behind an actress who dared to stand up to a powerhouse like Hitchcock. Her career, which should have skyrocketed, was effectively put on ice. While Hedren didn't completely vanish, she certainly didn't get the roles she deserved. Hollywood's golden gates were firmly shut. Instead of continuing her rise, she found herself on the outskirts of an industry she once dominated, all because she stood her ground, facing the full weight of Hitchcock's influence. The roles dried up and her career never returned to its initial trajectory, no matter how much talent she showed. While Hedren was redefining her path, decades later, another actress faced her own set of challenges. Kim Basinger was the epitome of 90s Hollywood royalty. After sultry performances in Batman and 9½ Weeks, she quickly became the talk of Tinseltown. Her allure was undeniable, combining striking looks with serious acting talent. She solidified her position by becoming a Bond girl in Never Say Never Again, a move that further cemented her A-list status. But in 1993, her career hit a major bump. Basinger made the fateful decision to back out of the film Boxing Helena. The fallout was swift. Producers sued her for breach of contract, and the courts awarded them a whopping $9 million judgment. It was more than just a financial hit. It painted her as unreliable in the eyes of the industry. The lawsuit wasn't the only problem. The public nature of the trial turned her into a Hollywood liability. Studios grew hesitant to cast her, fearing she might walk away from future projects too. Even after she won an Oscar for L.A. Confidential, it wasn't enough to fully restore her reputation. Her career, once shining bright, began to lose its luster. Behind the scenes, Basinger's personal struggles made things even more complicated. She dealt with severe anxiety and agoraphobia, conditions that affected both her ability to work and her public image. The pressure of navigating Hollywood under such circumstances only added to her challenges. As her career faltered, her personal life was also making headlines. A high-profile divorce from Alec Baldwin, along with her bankruptcy declaration, only increased the media scrutiny around her. The film industry, always quick to judge, had already shifted its gaze elsewhere, leaving her to navigate a career filled with setbacks and missed opportunities. Shifting focus to another actress who experienced the highs and lows of fame, Winona Ryder was the quintessential it girl of the late 80s and 90s. With breakout roles in films like Heathers and Edward Scissorhands, Ryder became a symbol of quirky charm and depth. She wasn't just popular in indie films, but made her mark in big-budget productions as well. Her success led to Oscar nominations for Little Women and The Age of Innocence, cementing her reputation as one of the most talented actresses of her generation. But just as it seemed like her career could only go up, everything came crashing down in 2001 when she was arrested for shoplifting. Ryder's arrest for stealing over $5,000 worth of designer goods from Saks Fifth Avenue made headlines everywhere. The media frenzy that followed was intense, and the actress, once Hollywood's darling, found herself in a downward spiral. Studios began distancing themselves, and offers for leading roles dried up. It was a shocking fall from grace for someone who had been riding high on critical and commercial success. Her once thriving career was put on hold, and for years Ryder retreated from the limelight, becoming more of a footnote in Hollywood gossip than a star on the rise. Despite the public scandal and the career damage that followed, Ryder eventually made a comeback. She re-emerged with her role in Stranger Things in 2016, reminding everyone why she had been a star in the first place. Though her time out of the spotlight was long, her return proved that her acting skills were as sharp as ever. While Ryder was navigating her public scandal and eventual resurgence, another actress was quietly facing her own career challenges. Mira Sorvino, who wowed Hollywood with her Oscar-winning role in Mighty Aphrodite, seemed to be on a path to long-term stardom. In the late 90s, she was everywhere, starring in hits like Romy and Michelle's High School Reunion and The Replacement Killers. With charm, talent, and critical praise, Sorvino appeared unstoppable, but behind the scenes, things were falling apart. Years later, it came to light that Harvey Weinstein had blacklisted Sorvino. Why? Because she had rejected his advances. Directors like Peter Jackson even admitted Weinstein discouraged them from casting her. This news shocked many, revealing how her career was quietly derailed. Despite her talent and early success, Weinstein's influence blocked her from many opportunities. Sorvino's career, which should have kept rising, was suddenly stuck. She was a victim of Hollywood's darker side, where power and influence determined success more than talent. As Sorvino quietly fought to keep her career afloat, Jennifer Grey was dealing with her own unexpected downfall in Hollywood. Known and loved for her role as Baby in Dirty Dancing, Grey seemed destined for long-term stardom after the film's huge success. Her charisma and chemistry with co-star Patrick Swayze made her an overnight sensation. But just when it looked like she was on top, her career took a surprising turn. A personal decision changed her image and her career forever. Not long after her rise to fame, Grey decided to get a nose job. It wasn't uncommon in Hollywood, but for Grey, the result wasn't what she had hoped for. The surgery changed her appearance so much that she became almost unrecognizable. The unique features that made her stand out were suddenly gone. This shift had a huge impact on her career. Hollywood, which values distinctiveness, didn't seem to know how to place her anymore. As Grey herself said, she went into the operating room a celebrity and came out anonymous. Even though Grey continued to work in TV and smaller film roles, she never regained the same level of fame. Her career didn't hit the heights expected after Dirty Dancing. Years later, she found a moment of renewed fame by winning Dancing with the Stars in 2010, which briefly brought her back into the public eye. But while this win captured fans' attention, her Hollywood career never quite returned to its former glory. While Grey quietly navigated the fallout from her career-altering decision, Katherine Heigl was about to face her own industry backlash, but for very different reasons. In the early 2000s, Heigl was Hollywood's rising star. Thanks to her role in Grey's Anatomy and several hit romantic comedies, she was quickly becoming one of the most sought-after actresses. Playing Dr. Izzy Stevens even earned her an Emmy, solidifying her place at the top. She became known as the queen of romantic comedies. But Heigl's career took a sharp turn when she publicly criticized some of her own projects. Heigl famously called Knocked Up sexist and withdrew from Emmy consideration, claiming the material didn't deserve it. These candid comments didn't sit well with Hollywood. She was soon labeled as difficult to work with. In an industry where reputation is everything, this was a big problem. Rumors of diva behavior on set started circulating. As the whispers got louder, roles began to disappear. Her once bright star started to dim, and she quickly went from being a Hollywood darling to a risky choice for casting directors. Despite the backlash, Heigl didn't fade into the background. She turned her attention to producing, taking control of her projects. She also returned to TV with roles in shows like Suits and Firefly Lane. It was a move to rebuild both her career and her image. Heigl has since spoken out about how the backlash affected her mental health, shedding light on the pressures of Hollywood. In a similar vein, Megan Fox experienced a meteoric rise and a sudden stumble. She shot to fame with Transformers in 2007, instantly becoming one of Hollywood's hottest stars. Dubbed the next Angelina Jolie, Fox was everywhere, from magazine covers to red carpets. But her quick rise came crashing down after one ill-advised comment. She compared director Michael Bay to an infamous dictator during an interview. That didn't go over well. The backlash was swift and Fox was dropped from the Transformers franchise. Almost overnight, her reputation took a hit. The media labeled her ungrateful and difficult to work with. This made it hard for her to land major roles. Fox found herself being typecast in less serious parts, far from the leading lady roles she had enjoyed before. Hollywood's door wasn't entirely closed, but it wasn't as welcoming as it once was. However, Fox didn't let this define her. She began speaking out about the hypersexualization she had faced early in her career and the struggles of being taken seriously as an actress. Fox also started exploring other interests outside of acting. She embraced environmental activism and focused on her role as a mother. By sharing more about her personal life and her thoughts on Hollywood's double standards, she began to reshape her public image. Though her career never returned to the height of her Transformers days, Fox showed she wasn't just a one-dimensional Hollywood starlet. While Fox was navigating her career hurdles, Monique was facing her own uphill battle. She blew audiences away with her Oscar-winning performance in Precious. You'd think her career would skyrocket after that, but things took a sharp turn when she spoke out about being underpaid for promotional duties. Monique wasn't afraid to name names, calling out Oprah Winfrey and Tyler Perry. Hollywood wasn't too happy about that. By refusing to play along, Monique found herself blacklisted. She claimed she was lowballed for roles and expected to work for free to promote the film. Standing her ground came with a price. Roles started drying up. But Monique didn't disappear. She returned to her roots, performing stand-up comedy and staying connected to her audience. In recent years, she even secured a Las Vegas residency, showing she still had star power. Despite the backlash, Monique stayed true to herself and kept fighting. Beyond the stage, Monique used her voice to speak up for equality in Hollywood. She didn't shy away from the tough conversations about pay and fairness. Speaking of strong women challenging the status quo, Rose McGowan was also making waves behind the scenes. Known for her bold roles in Scream and Charmed, McGowan was a 90s favorite. But beneath the surface, she was dealing with something far darker. She was one of the first to accuse Harvey Weinstein of misconduct. After rejecting him, her career stalled, roles disappeared, and she found herself blacklisted from Hollywood. For years, McGowan stayed silent, fearing the backlash and industry power. But when the Me Too movement gained traction, she became one of its loudest voices. It came at a cost, though. Legal battles, public scrutiny, and media attacks followed. Still, McGowan didn't back down. She wrote her memoir, Brave, sharing her story and pushing for change in Hollywood's power structure. Her voice was impossible to ignore. Beyond activism, McGowan explored other creative outlets. She tried her hand at music, directing, and even released a documentary series. Though her career as an actress hit roadblocks, McGowan showed she wasn't just going to fade away. She used her voice and platform to fight for justice, proving her story wasn't just about Hollywood, it was about changing an entire industry. Similarly, Annabella Sciorra, famed for her role in The Sopranos, faced her own battles. In the 90s, Sciorra's career was on the rise. Her standout performances in Jungle Fever and The Hand That Rocks the Cradle made her a star to watch. But everything changed when she accused Harvey Weinstein of misconduct. Once she spoke out, the industry quickly turned its back on her. Sciorra saw her offers disappear, and her promising career came to a halt. Hollywood seemed to punish her for speaking out against a powerful figure. For years, she struggled to find work. The impact of Weinstein's influence was strong, and Sciorra was left on the outside looking in. She found herself shunned, wondering how a career filled with so much promise could fall apart so quickly. The roles that had once seemed within reach were suddenly nowhere to be found. Her blacklisting was a stark reminder of how the industry treated those who spoke out against its most influential figures. Although Sciorra eventually returned to the screen, her career never returned to the heights it once promised. While she later took on roles in television shows like Luke Cage and Truth Be Told, her time as a rising star had been stolen by the industry's refusal to support her. Despite the challenges, Sciorra continues to push forward, but the shadow of Weinstein's blacklist still lingers over her once bright career. Turning to Linda Fiorentino, she made a splash with The Last Seduction in the mid-90s. Her performance drew rave reviews. Fiorentino was praised for portraying complex, strong female characters with ease. Critics buzzed about her award potential, and audiences were captivated by her work. But soon, rumors started circulating. Whispers about her being difficult on set began to surface. And in Hollywood, a reputation like that can quickly turn into a barrier. As the rumors spread, offers started drying up. Directors became hesitant to cast her, worried about possible on-set conflicts. Despite the setbacks, Fiorentino didn't vanish from the arts altogether. Instead, she shifted her focus. She reportedly turned to photography and began exploring other creative outlets. Fiorentino also got involved in philanthropy, using her time and platform to support educational and cultural initiatives. Transitioning from career challenges to personal tragedies, Brittany Murphy charmed audiences in Clueless, Girl Interrupted, and 8 Mile. She had an infectious energy that lit up the screen, and her versatility in both comedic and dramatic roles made her a fan favorite. But behind the scenes, rumors began swirling about her health, dramatic weight loss, and personal life. These whispers, often amplified by tabloids, cast a shadow over her rising star. Speculation about her well-being became constant. Tragically, Murphy passed away in 2009 at the age of just 32. Her sudden death shocked both fans and friends. The official cause was pneumonia and anemia, complicated by prescription medications found in her system. But the circumstances around her death led to ongoing speculation. Just months later, her husband, Simon Monjack, also died under similar conditions. The strange nature of their deaths fueled conspiracy theories, including concerns about toxic mold in their home, although no evidence supported this claim. Murphy's sudden passing left many unanswered questions and a profound sense of loss. Her career, which once seemed full of promise, was cut short, leaving fans wondering what could have been. While Murphy's story highlights the fragility of life, Shannon Doherty exemplifies resilience in the face of adversity. A 90s icon known for Beverly Hills, 90210, and Charmed, Doherty had the talent and charisma that made her a household name. But her career wasn't without controversy. Reports of on-set feuds and difficult behavior followed her closely, leading to her being written off both shows. Despite continuing to work, she struggled to recapture the same level of fame she had in her prime. In 2015, Doherty was diagnosed with breast cancer and later revealed it had advanced to stage 4. Instead of stepping back from the public eye, she chose to share her journey with openness and honesty. Her battle resonated with many as she became an advocate for cancer awareness. Doherty's candidness about her experience helped shift the conversation around the illness, bringing more visibility to the fight against cancer. In 2019, she returned to her roots, joining the reboot of BH90221, reconnecting with her longtime fans. While her career shifted away from the spotlight, Doherty remained active in charity work, focusing on cancer awareness and support. Moving from seasoned actresses to those who started young, Amanda Bynes was the queen of teen comedy in the early 2000s. With shows like The Amanda Show and movies like She's the Man, Bynes was a Hollywood favorite. Her comedic timing and relatable charm made her a star, but things quickly took a turn. Erratic behavior, legal troubles, and mental health struggles became the new headlines. Suddenly, her past accomplishments were overshadowed by personal issues. Bynes eventually stepped away from acting to focus on herself. She enrolled in fashion school, shifting her attention to a new passion. In 2014, she was placed under a conservatorship due to ongoing mental health challenges. In recent years, Bynes has shown signs of recovery. She even expressed interest in making a return to acting, sharing her struggles openly in interviews. Similarly, navigating the challenges of early fame, Tara Reid was the life of the party in American Pie and The Big Lebowski. She became a fixture in teen comedies and cult classics. But soon, her off-screen antics began to overshadow her work. Public partying, run-ins with paparazzi, and botched plastic surgeries landed her in the tabloids. For many, it became hard to see past the headlines and focus on her acting. Reid has been proactive in trying to revitalize her career. She took part in reality TV shows and took on a variety of roles. One of her biggest comebacks came with the Sharknado series, which gained a cult following. Reid has been open about her past mistakes, showing a willingness to learn and adapt. She's also been vocal about the pressures Hollywood's beauty standards placed on her, advocating for self-acceptance. Lastly, Mischa Barton stole hearts on the OC as Marissa Cooper. Her performance made her an overnight sensation, with both fans and critics falling for her. Barton became the face of early 2000s teen drama, and the future looked bright for her career. But when she left the show, things started to unravel fast. Her promising trajectory was derailed by personal issues that began dominating the headlines. In 2007, Barton was arrested for a DUI, and her struggles with legal problems and health soon overshadowed her acting. Barton's erratic behavior and highly publicized breakdown, which led to her hospitalization, turned her into tabloid fodder. Hollywood, which once praised her, began to distance itself. The young star found herself dealing with more media attention about her personal life than her professional achievements. Her once promising acting career stalled as she became associated more with controversy than her talents. Roles became scarce, and her struggles with depression and anxiety only fueled more negative attention. Despite efforts to return to the spotlight, Barton never fully regained the momentum she had during her The OC days. Hollywood had moved on, and her career was left in the shadows of the very public and personal battles she faced.